Another fabulous, fabulous Shabbat. And we're going to do the blessing over the tithes and the offerings right now. And we do have our internet audience. We want to welcome our internet audience. We are trying to reach a lot more people via the internet and through the website. And brethren, it does come at a considerable cost financially and with time. So what we're really looking for, brethren, in the ministry, whether it be here or online, preferably both, is for some individuals and people to really commit to supporting the ministry on a regular, steady basis. Because there's always, I've found in ministry, and I think many pastors will teach this and speak this, it's always a very few that support the ministry. And what we're looking for is for committed families, not just to throw in a few bucks here and there, but a commitment each and every month or week or however you organize your finances to stand with us so that we can go where Yahweh wants to take us in the ministry realm. So just pray about that, and please, if you are those families, those people that would like to partner and join in supporting this ministry, then we'd ask you to not just put a few bucks in, even though the widow's mite in the scripture, that was everything. That was a commitment. But what we see oftentimes as ministers is just what's in, the paper in the bottom of the pocket. And that's not what ministry and tithing truly is about. It's about looking at your finances and making a commitment. And that's what sustains ministry. So we just ask that, brethren, that you consider that in prayer, both here and on the internet audience. So, Father, we do lift up the giving of the tithes and the offerings. Baruch atah, Yahweh Eloheinu, melech ha'olam, Asher Kadishnu Bar Mitzvatov, Vitzivanu al Mitzvat Ma'aseh Beteruma. Blessed art thou, Yahweh our Elohim, King of the universe, who has sanctified us by thy commandments and commanded us concerning the giving of the tithes and the offerings. Brother Sean, if you would do the pushkis, thank you so much. So this week's Torah portion is entitled in the Hebrew, Ha'azinu, give ear, Ha'azinu. We are coming into the final verses, the final words of the book of Devarim. This, of course, is the Song of Moshe. But it's really the second song of Moshe Rabbeinu, because the first song, can anyone tell me where the first song of Moshe Rabbeinu was? That, of course, was at the Red Sea crossing. At the Red Sea crossing in Exodus Shemot chapter 15. And that, of course, the first song of Moshe is the Mika Mocha. The Mika Mocha. This, brethren, that we're talking about today, this song, I believe this is the song that is referenced in Gilyana Revelation chapter 15 verse 3. Because there's going to be a people. There's going to be a people at the end of time that will be the standing ones. They'll be overcomers, the standing ones that will sing the song of Moshe. So, we pray that we are that people. And if we are that people, then I pray that Yahweh would open our eyes and be able to reveal to us through the scriptures what it is that he requires of us in this generation. Now I'm going to paint a picture for you so that we can have an understanding, because we have to read this text in Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 32, very differently than any other text in Scripture. How do I know that? Well, if you actually were to look at a Torah scroll, you'll see that this is laid out in the way that it is written, decidedly and distinctly different than the rest of the Torah scroll. It is laid out so different, just to the eye, that it draws your attention that this is not to be read how you would read the rest of the Torah. So, brethren, my understanding through studying this, and I'll paint a word picture for you, is that you have, imagine you're now in the old city in Jerusalem. Many of you have gone there, especially if you go into through the Damascus Gate. You'll find many, many rug merchants. And those of you that love your hardwood floors and your rugs, you know that that's a great place to go and find some great rugs. So this Torah portion, brethren, imagine that you pick out a rug and you have one tapestry. Then you're going to have another tapestry rug. And then you're going to have another. So you're going to have, brethren, 3 rugs. Okay? But then you're going to see that's how this whole Torah portion is going to be laid out. You've got 1, 2, 3 rugs or tapestries. But then you're going to find that there's going to be a thread that is going to be woven through those 3 tapestries. Then there's going to be another thread that is woven through those 3 tapestries. Then there's going to be another thread that is woven through those 3 tapestries. And finally, there's going to be a 4th thread that is woven through those 3 rugs or tapestries. So that they are now all what? Interconnected, and they actually form one veil. And that is how you're able to lift the veil and see into the prophetic future of Revelation 15 of what this Song of Moses is. And that's how we have to read, I believe, this scripture. It is 3 rugs hanging on a wall that are then threaded with 4 threads, which connects the 3 rugs and makes them one huge veil that then will allow you to lift the veil and see into Revelation chapter 15 of what the Song of Moses is for your prophetic future. Does that make sense? So that's how we're going to approach this, because this is a song that connects 2 generations. And the only way that you can connect the 2 generations, the past generation and you, the future generation, is by threading 4 threads through 3 tapestries to make a veil. Now, I was going to do it with a PowerPoint, but I thought, you know what? These brethren, I'm pretty descriptive. We don't need the computer. I mean, right? Right. Give us your vision. Because I believe that if we prepare and if we anticipate what is going to happen in the future, you're going to see that Yahweh will bring us into a whole new realm. Because this is a song which is so magnificent. Because this veil is really, really going to be lifted. But first we have to start looking at the tapestries and the threads. And it's interesting because this Torah portion is always taught between Yom Teruah, the Feast of Trumpets, and Yom Kippur. And if you notice now, the very first verse is giving as a witness, is it not? Chapter 32. Give ear, O heavens, and I will speak. And hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. Let my teaching drop as the rain, my speech distill as with the dew. Or as you would say, as the dew. So this is a song, it's a vision for the future. And in the Torah scroll, like I said, it looks distinctly different because what you have is you have 2 columns and they're obviously verses in a song. Just like you have the 2 tablets, you have 2 columns within the Torah scroll. So it's telling you, you've got to read this differently. You have to read this differently to get the understanding. It's a message within it. And there is a context is for this future vision that Yahweh wants to give to the last generation, to connect them back to this generation. And do you think that Rav Shaliach Shaul, the Apostle Paul, had any idea about this stuff? I think he did. I think that the Apostle Paul has been so misunderstood, that he was just such an amazing scholar of the Torah and had such an amazing knowledge of what Yeshua's visionary accomplishment as the Melchizedek was, that he said to the Corinthians, hey, look, you are a generation, and I'm going to connect you back, 1 Corinthians 10:1, to a past generation, that you are connected. Because that is always, to the people who have the vision, is they will always connect back, and there will be a generation bridge. Right? It's powerful stuff. We've got to understand the structure, and I hope I was able to explain that to you. And we've got to be able to read it as an integrated text, not as a linear text. And I know that's really hard for us Westerners. We like everything linear. Well, this was before Christ, and here's a cross, and now everything after the cross. Well, that's after Christ. It's called BC and AD, before Christ and after death. I mean, even in our timelines, actually, it's before the Common Era and the Common Era. But, even that we make linear. So we can't read this text linear. You read it linear and you're stuck in the church system. We have to read it as an integrated text to be able to lift the veil. So, here we go. 3 tapestries. The first tapestries. Uniform lines into which a song or poem can be divided. And the thread weaves throughout this song, and what we're going to do is we're going to follow the linkage and unlock, I believe, one of the secret mysteries of Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 29. What does it say? The secret things belong to Yahweh our Elohim, but those things which are revealed belong to us and to who? That's you. That's you, the future generations. When? Just part of the time, or forever? Forever, that we may do all the words. We can do it, brethren. We can do this. We can do this. It's amazing. It's amazing. So let's look at chapter 32 and verse 1 through 3. We have the introduction into the song. And now we're going to look at the first tapestry. Remember, the 3 tapestries? We're now going to look at this first rug. And we're going to put it on the wall and we're going to examine it. Let's look at tapestry number 1, verse 4. And we're going to read verse 4 all the way through verse 15. And there is your first rug. So you, those artists of you, you're now drawing a rug. Okay? Verse 4 through 15. He is the rock. His work is perfect. For all his ways are justice. An Elohim of truth and without injustice. Righteous and upright is he. They have corrupted themselves, and they are not his children because of their blemish. A perverse and crooked generation. Do you thus deal with Yahweh, O foolish and unwise people? Is he not your Abba who bought you? Has he not made you and established you? Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask your Abba, and he will show you, your elders, and they will tell you. When the Most High divided the inheritance to the nations, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the boundaries of the peoples according to the number of the children of Israel. This is an interesting side note. Did you understand and realize that the size of the nations are actually established depending upon how many of the dispersed children of Israel, the seed of Abraham, are in them in the last days? Did you realize that? Look how big the United States of America is as a nation. That tells you that within these borders, which are now wide open, of course, there is such a huge amount of the stars of the heaven and the sand of the seashore within, because of the size that these borders have been established. Very, very interesting side note. For Yahweh's portion is his people. Yaakov, Jacob, is the place of his inheritance. He found him in a desert land and in the wasteland. In a howling wilderness, he encircled him. He instructed him and he kept him as the pupil of his eye. As an eagle stirs up its nest and hovers over its young, spreading out its wings, or like a talit, taking them up, carrying them on his wings. So Yahweh alone led him, and there was no foreign El with him. He has made him ride high in the heights of the earth, that he might eat the produce of the fields. He has made him draw honey from the rock, and oil from the flinty rock. Curds and cattle, and milk and the flock, and the fat of the lambs, and the rams of the breed of Bashan, and the goats with the choicest wheat. And he drunk wine and the blood of grapes. That is your first tapestry. That's the first rug that you're going to hang. Now we're going to hang another rug. And that is verse 16 through verse 27. They provoked him to jealousy with foreign Elohim, with foreign gods. With abominations they provoked him to anger. They sacrificed to demons, not to Yahweh, to gods they did not know, to new gods, new arrivals that your fathers did not fear. Of the rock who begot you, you are unmindful, and you have forgotten the Elohim who fathered you. And when Yahweh saw it, he spurned them because of the provocation of his sons and his daughters. And he said, I will hide my face from them, and I will see that their end will be. For they are a perverse generation, children of whom is no faith. They have provoked me to jealousy by what is not Elohim. They have moved me to anger by their foolish idols. But I will provoke them to jealousy by those who are not a nation. I will move them to anger by a foolish nation, for a fire is kindled in my anger, and it shall burn to the lowest hell. It shall consume the earth with her increase and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. I will heap disasters on them. I will spend my arrows on them. They shall be wasted with hunger, devoured by pestilence and bitter destruction. I will also send them the teeth of beasts with the poison of serpents of the dust, and the sword shall destroy outside. There shall be terror within for the young man and the virgin, the nursing child and the man of gray hairs. I would have said, I will dash them into pieces. I will have the memory of them to cease from among them. That's your second tapestry. Now we're going to hang that third tapestry on the wall, and that is verse 28 through verse 39. For they are a nation void of counsel, nor is there any understanding of them. This is the third tapestry now hanging on the wall. Oh, that they were wise, that they understood this, that they would consider their latter end. How could one chase 1,000 and put 10,000 to flight, unless their rock had sold them and Yahweh had surrendered them? For their rock is not like our rock, even their enemies themselves being judges. For their vine is the vine of Sodom, and the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of gall. Their clusters are bitter, and the wine is the poison of serpents, and the cruel venom, yes, the cruel venom of cobras. Is this not laid up in store with me, sealed up among my treasures? Vengeance is mine, and recompense. Their foot shall slip in due time, for the day of their calamity is at hand, and the things to come hasten upon them. For Yahweh will judge his people and have compassion upon his servants when he sees that their power is gone and there is no one remaining, bond or free. He will say, where are their Elohim, the rock in which they sought refuge? Remember the book of Revelation? Where are the kings, and where are they going to hide? Where is the rock where they sought refuge? Because their rock is not our rock. And who ate the fat of their sacrifices and the drink and the wine of their drink offering? Let them rise and help you and be your refuge. Where is your refuge? There you have 3 tapestries. The first tapestry, verse 4 through verse 15. The second tapestry, verse 16 through verse 27. And the third tapestry, verse 28 through verse 39. And now the epilogue is from verse 40 through verse 43. The epilogue now. For I raise my hand to heaven and I say, as I live forever, if I whet my glittering sword, and my hand takes hold on judgment, I will render vengeance to my enemies, and repay those who hate me. I will make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh, with the blood of the slain and the captives from the heads of the leaders of the enemy. Rejoice, O nations, with his people, and he will avenge the blood of his servants and render vengeance to his adversaries. He will provide atonement for his land and for his people. 1, 2, 3 tapestries. Now we need to start putting the threads through the tapestries so that we can make them one veil. There's going to be now 4 threads. The first thread, now you're going to start to see it. The first thread is verse 4 through 6. Look at this. Now we're going to find that first thread, and it is going to be in chapter 32. And it's going to be verse 4 through verse 6. Because what's going to happen, brethren, is you're going to start to see that these threads will now interconnect. Because this first thread is going to go through into tapestry 1. And then you'll see it go into tapestry 2. And then it will have to go into tapestry 3. And then, brethren, it will connect. And then you'll see another thread that will have to go into tapestry 1, sewn into tapestry 2, and sewn into tapestry 3. And they're connected. Does that make sense?
Out of these first four verses.
Right now, in these first verse, right now, chapter 32, verse 4 through 6, we're going to see the first thread, and it is going to be sewn into the first tapestry. You ready? Verse 4. He is the rock, his work is perfect. For all his ways are justice, Elohim of truth, and without injustice, righteous and upright is he. For they have corrupted themselves, and they are not his children because of their blemish, a perverse and crooked generation. There's your first thread. And it went into tapestry 1. Now it's going to go into tapestry 2, and we're going to find that in verse 16. See if you can find the connection. They provoked him to jealousy with foreign gods. With abominations they provoked him to anger. They sacrificed to demons, not to Yahweh. To Elohim they did not know. To new gods, new arrivals, that your fathers did not fear. Of the rock who begot you, you are unmindful, and have forgotten the Elohim of your father. See what's in that thread so far? What is it? What's in the thread? The thread is the rock, correct? And now this thread is going to go through to the third tapestry, and you're going to find that third thread, which is going to be the rock, is in now verse 28 through verse 30. It's now going to connect. Verse 28. For they are a nation void of counsel, nor is there any understanding in them. Oh, that they were wise, that they had understood this, that they would consider their latter end. How could one chase 1,000 and put 10,000 to flight unless their rock had sold them and Yahweh had surrendered them? For their rock is not like our rock. Now, when we link up these threads, we're going to see something amazing, because this secret that is going to be revealed, the secret that we spoke about in Deuteronomy 29 that connects the first generation to the last generation, is going to be revealed. But we have to be able to build the veil and then lift the veil. You've got to be able to lift the veil. Verse 4 through 6, what do we find in that first thread? The rock is the thread, and the rock is perfect. Do you understand that the rock is perfect? But as that thread now weaves into the second tapestry, what happened, verse 16 through 18? They neglected him. They neglected the rock. They neglected Yeshua, the rock. And you have become perverse because of it. You who deny and walk away from Yeshua, you become perverse because of it. Because you rejected the rock. And look what happens. Look what your end is. In verse 28 through verse 30, is it now that first thread is woven from first, second into the third tapestry. You discarded the rock. And now your rock is not like our rock. Because the only rock that you have left is the rock that the nations will hide under, which Yahweh will search them out. Who's your rock? Who's your rock? We have to be able to see. All of our fathers were under the cloud. They drank of that rock that followed them, and that rock was Mashiach. Yes, I do believe the Apostle Paul knew exactly what this song was describing, 1 Corinthians chapter 10. Amazing. Because the prophet Isaiah says that there will be desolation, brethren. There will be desolation. Because you have forgotten the Elohim of your salvation, and you have not been remembering. You have not been mindful of the rock of your refuge. Because if you think you're going to take refuge out there, that is what the whole world is building towards, is that you would take refuge in the Tacoma Dome. That you would take refuge. Oh, you're laughing. But it's serious. That you would take. You know what? We've made it so bloody comfortable for you that we're going to have gladiators there every Saturday at whatever time they do it. And they're going to chase around some pigskin. And you're all going to get fat and happy as you eat the blood of pigs. Every Saturday. You become so comfortable, that's your hangout spot. Then we're going to flip it on you. Because then all hell's going to break loose. And guess what? Instead of selling popcorn and chasing pigskin, we're going to have vaccinations. We're going to have nice cots with wool blankets. And we're going to make you safe. Just come on in here. Hey, we can seat 50,000. Come on in. Come inside this rock. It's your refuge. Welcome to FEMA. We ain't letting you out. There's nothing new under the sun. They did it to the Romans, and they're going to do it to you. Unless you understand that our rock is not like your rock. Yeah, you go take refuge there. I'm taking refuge right here on my knees, praying to the Master Sovereign Yahweh. It's a whole different realm. It's a whole different realm. And I'll be able to lift the veil that cripples the world. You see? It's amazing stuff, amazing stuff. So now we look at this second thread now. We looked at the first thread, and that first thread that connects the tapestries is what? The rock. So now we're going to look at the second thread. The second thread, which is now going to go through the tapestries, is verse 7. Now you tell me the thread. As we read it, you'll find the thread, what that thread, identify the thread. Isn't this fun? I mean, I love the word of Yahweh. It's supernatural. Supernatural. Amazing stuff. Wow. Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask your Abba and he will show you. Your elders and they will tell you. When the Most High divided their inheritance to the nations, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the boundaries of the peoples according to the number of the children of Israel. And now we're going to see now how this weaves through into the second tapestry, verse 19 through 21. So we just stitched it into the first tapestry. Now we're going to stitch it into the second tapestry, verse 19. And when you saw and when Yahweh saw it, he spurned them. Why? Because of the provocation of his sons and his daughters. Can you see a theme? What's the theme? What's the thread? We're looking at sons. We're looking at mankind. This is a thread of mankind. What does mankind become? Sons of Adam, what will you become? What will you become? Oh, second thread. Sons of Adam. And when Yahweh saw it, he spurned them because of the provocation of his sons and his daughters. And he said, I will hide my face from them, and I will see what their end will be. For they are a perverse generation, a children who have no emunah. Because he says, I am just looking for a people that will have faith when I return. He's not looking for you to do. He's looking for you to have. Because it's what you obtain in your vessel that he's looking for. He's looking for a people of faith. But they have provoked me to jealousy by what is not Elohim. They have moved me to anger by their foolish idols. But I will provoke them to jealousy by those who are not a nation. I will move them to anger by a foolish nation. So there we stitch the second thread into the second tapestry. And now we're going to stitch this second thread into the third tapestry, verse 31 through the verse 33. For their rock is not like our rock, even our enemies themselves being judges. For their vine is the vine of Sodom, and the fields are of Gomorrah. And their grapes are grapes of Gaal. Their clusters are bitter. The wine is the poison of serpents and the cruel venom of cobras. The second thread is that you sons of Adam have become like snakes. You've become like snakes. Is that true? I mean, when you look out at humanity and the poison, whether it's in the vaccinations, in the media, in the music, in the whole gamut, you sons of Adam have become like serpents. Serpents, you've become your own gods. You know what Pharaoh used to wear on his crown? A cobra. You've become your own gods, you sons of Adam. You're the vine of Sodom and Gomorrah. You're not an olive tree. You're a vine of Sodom and Gomorrah. And that's exactly what the world that we're living in. It's sobering, isn't it, Rob? Isn't it just? It's sobering. Now let's look at this third thread, brethren. This third thread. Verse 10 through verse 12. Is everybody tracking so far? Nobody's tracking. All right. Thanks for the response. Cheers. It's not easy up here. I'm like, was this just like... I'm a little concerned, I've got to tell you, brother in the back, having lights here. And we're going to get some glare. We're going to have to move. Yeah. All right. Verse 10. This is the third thread, and it is now going to be woven through. He found them in a desert land, and in the wasteland, a howling wilderness, but he encircled them. You know what? Circle the wagons. Circle the wagons. Circle the wagons. He instructed him, and he kept him as the apple, it says in some translations. I like better, the pupil. You're the pupil of his eye. You're the pupil of his eye. I was just telling my kids about this morning. As an eagle stirs up his nest and hovers over its young, spreading out its talit, its wings over them, carrying them on his wings, so Yahweh alone led him, and there was no foreign gods with him. You mean they decided to get out of paganism? That they started to wake up to the fact that they were spoon-fed from birth with the pagan gods of the world. In their holidays, festivities, the very language that dripped off of their tongues. But they decided at some point in their life, I'm not going to be a slave. I'm not drinking the nation's Kool-Aid anymore. Right? Right? Enough is enough. I didn't even realize it. Because it is so permeated into my generations, into the sons of Adam, that we've become like snakes. Snakes. Snakes like to eat Easter eggs. Or just eggs. Oftentimes you can put snakes on the top of trees. That wasn't in my notes. What's the greatest enemy of a snake, brethren? What's the greatest enemy of a snake? An eagle. An eagle is the greatest enemy of the snake. And the eagle, Yahweh here in our text. Now, of course, you've got to be ready for this, because we do have an internet audience, and we love the internet audience, but they don't have the relationship. We pray that you guys would move here, if you're not mad. And but you got to be careful. Where was I going with that? Oh, because of course now people. He compared Yahweh to eagles. Do you realize an eagle is an unclean bird? Well, you know that's going to happen. So just in case, all right, we knew it would. Get with me here, brethren. A text out of context creates, I say it all the time, a pretext, and error begets error. We're looking at a song. We're looking at a structured verse here, and we're looking at tapestries, so we're going to read it in context. We're not just going to take an abstract text of an eagle in Revelation and go, oh, it's an unclean bird. He's going to say Yahweh was an unclean bird. And then people can't get through what's right, banging them in the face. Does that make sense? We get it all the time, don't we? We do. People get stuck, literally stuck on a word, on one stinking word in Scripture, and they miss the whole message because they get hung up on one word. And you're like, you try.
Forget about it, brother.
I know, we're moving on. All right, where was I? The greatest enemy of the snake, of course, is the eagle. Yahweh is the eagle that is encircling Israel. He's encircling us, brethren. And he's got that telescopic pupil. We are the pupil of his eye. He has got his eye on you and has always had his eye on you. Even before you realized it, he's always had him in the palm of your hands. He's always had that telescopic eye upon you ever since you were a child. And you know what an eagle does? Because those eagles, they build those nests so high up in the rocks, up in the crevices. Smith Rock, man, I used to go climbing over there. Eagles high up in the rocks. And they'd shut of course, the nature lovers over there, you just want to go rock climbing, and they'd shut the whole blooming park down, a part of the park, because there was an eagle up there. One time I nearly got my climbing partner arrested because he had a feather in his hat. And the park rider, and I was just joking. I said, yeah, I think it's an eagle feather. Oh, yeah, would you get down? I mean, seriously. That's a federal crime. Those eagles build those nests so high, and those little eaglets, you know how that eagle will get them to fly? They'll eventually grow. That the nest that they grow in, it becomes actually that thing that was comfortable and safe for them, it actually begins to hurt them. It actually begins to prick them, that they actually feel kind of uncomfortable. What they were growing up in. You know how many of us came out of the church system? I mean, for a time it was nurturing and it was good. And we're not going to belittle where we've come from, because Yahweh has used it mightily in our lives. But it was natural for us to grow. Some brethren didn't grow. But Yahweh was good to us. And he allowed us to grow. That, what was comfortable to us became uncomfortable. Because we started to grow in the Word. And you know what Yahweh did? Because he could see that we were getting uncomfortable. And what actually used to be comfortable for us became uncomfortable. Because we were convicted by the power of his Word. And that it started to stick us in the side every Sunday at 10. And it started to stick us every more. I'm like, I don't know if I can go back in that nest again. It's sticking me. So you know what Yahweh did? He went like that and threw us out the nest. He did. And we're in free fall. We are in free fall. We're like, what is going on now? What am I doing now? Everything I believe, it's all a lie. They lied to me. You liar. It's all a lie. I'm in free. My whole life is wrecked. And you're in free fall. You're like, I don't know where I'm going. It's pretty Hebraic. But I'm going there. Not much control. I am in free fall. And that is, I'm just telling you my testimony. Maybe some of you are like, I have no idea what he's talking about. But there might be a couple of you that do know what I'm talking about. But Yahweh casted us out of the church system. He casted us out because we started to grow in his world, and we got out of that comfortable nest of Christianity, and we are in free fall. But Yahweh caught us. Now some of us, he caught with the pinions, and it was painful. Now some of us, he swept under and he caught us in his wings. Because we all come from different places. Personally, I needed to be caught with the pinions. But some people, they needed Yahweh to catch them by swooping underneath them. Because they came from brokenness and needed that love and that compassion, and they needed a softer landing. So we have to look at each and every brethren and deal with brethren differently. Some of us can handle the pinions. If you don't like me, just come up and say, Matthew, I don't like you. I'll say, oh, thank you very much. At least you're honest. Now, some other brethren, that will break their heart. To me, you'll become my best friend, because I'll be, at least the guy was honest. It depends. But some people can't. They need to be tender gloves. So Yahweh understands how we're all different. But we were in free fall, and he's caught us and he's brought us here into the full revelation of his word, from Genesis 1 all the way to the end of to the book of Revelation. Why? So that we can get through the revelation. It's called the Great Tribulation, the Apocalypse. That's how he's caught us, to give us the tools to get through the great tribulation spoken of in the book of Revelation, and the greater, what's called in Scripture, the final Exodus. You see, the wings, Yahweh's wings, they are to be a covering and comforting for us. And now let's look at this third thread that's going to go through the tapestry, and it's going to be verse 22 through verse 24. Now I hope you guys are comfortable, because I think this teaching is going to go long. Because there's a lot. This is not a simple teaching. And if we're really going to unlift the veil, we've got to dig some ditches, right? But I believe Yahweh's Ruach HaKodesh will fill, because his word will not return void. That's why we're reading a lot of word. Verse 22, we're going to look at this third thread now going into the tapestry. For a fire is kindled in my anger, and shall burn to the lowest hell, and it shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. and I will heap disasters on them, and I will spend my arrows on them, and they shall be wasted with hunger, devoured by pestilence and bitter destruction. Look at that. I will spend my arrows on them. What is this? What is this third thread? This, brethren, is the arrows of the great tribulation. At this point, there's no comfortable nest. You've been pushed out of the nest, you're in free fall, and this is the arrows, the third thread right here that's going through the tapestry is the arrows of the great tribulation. There's no comfortable nest. I am thankful to Yahweh, and you should be thankful to Yahweh that Yahweh pushed you out of the nest early, and that you were in free fall early so that you could look around and start to see his Shabbat, the feasts of Yahweh, and his word, and that he swooped under you and caught you either by his wings with mercy and comfortableness and compassion, or he even grabbed you with his pinions and it hurt and cut you up a little bit, like myself, but he still did it, and he brought you to where we're at now. Because regardless, you can either leave then, or you're going to be pushed out in the great tribulation. And at that point, you're not going to get the benefits that we have had. He said, first of all, that he would send out shepherds. But if you don't listen to the shepherds, he's going to send out hunters. And they will hunt you out of that nest, that comfortable nest of Christianity. They will be hunters. Do you want to heed the message when the shepherds are sent out? The fishermen, he will send fishermen. Or do you want to heed the message when he sends out the hunters? I praise Yahweh that we heeded the message when he sent out the fishermen. Right? Look at this, because we're in training now. Because during this time of the Great Tribulation, when those arrows fly, there is going to be a lack of food. There is going to be a lack of water. There is going to be a lack of shelter. And there is going to be darkness. And what do we have? Right now we're coming up on Yom Kippur. That's a time of affliction. And of course, we understand these are very different to those of us under the Melchizedek order. But still, brethren, we see that Sukkot is a time when we're in temporary booths. We dwell under the darkness of the sky and see the full moon. At Yom Teruah, there's the assembling. We assemble under darkness because there is no moon. It has not even become to be waxed full. But our prayer is that Yahweh will truly, truly carry us so that we won't hit impact point. And impact point is the day of Yahweh, which is Yom Kippur. And you think that you're in free fall and you're going to get impact, but Yahweh can come in right at the last minute, catch you with his pinions or his wings, and you will not hit Yom Kippur, which is impact point. That's impact point where it's done. That's the day of judgment. In Revelation chapter 6, you see the fourth seal, the great judgments of the tribulation. You see that there's going to be, I think it's about 1 billion people that are going to be killed with the sword, with hunger, with the teeth of beasts, and pestilence. Impact point is the day of Yahweh, Yom Kippur. So that third thread in tapestry, now we're going to see that third thread go into tapestry 3. That was tapestry 2. But now we're going to see that third thread in verse 34 through verse 36. Are you ready? Is this not laid up in store with me, sealed up upon my treasures? Vengeance is mine and recompense. Their foot shall slip in due time. For the day of their calamity is at hand, and the things to come hasten upon them. For Yahweh will judge his people and have compassion on his servants when he sees that their power is gone and there is no one remaining bond or free. There is no one remaining bond or free. Brethren, the saints are worn down in the great tribulation. But guess what? We will be vindicated. Yahweh will vindicate his people. He will defend his people, and he will have compassion upon Israel. So sometimes I feel worn down, and I know you do as well. But Yahweh says that he will vindicate us. So we're not to be worn down. He will vindicate you in that present trial and tribulation that you're going through in your life, with your family, with your children, with your grandchildren, whatever you're going through. Yahweh's going to vindicate you. Don't be worn down, brethren. It can be discouraging, but he looks at you, the pupil of his eye. Don't be despondent. Don't be discouraged. Yahweh's going to see it through, and he's going to vindicate you all. He's going to vindicate us. He's going to vindicate us. Now let's look at this fourth thread go into the tapestry. The fourth thread now, and it's going to be woven into, this is the fourth and final thread, and it's going to be woven into tapestry 1 through verse 13. Verse 13. He made him ride on the heights of the earth, that he might eat the produce of the fields. He made him draw honey from the rock, and oil from the flinty rock. Curds from the cattle and milk of the flock, with the fat of lambs, and the rams of the breed of Bashan, and goats with the choicest wheat. And you drank wine, the blood of grapes. Now this fourth thread is going to be stitched through into tapestry 2, verse 25 through verse 27. The sword shall destroy outside, and there shall be terror within. For the young man and virgin, the nursing child, and the man of gray hairs. I would have said, I will dash them in pieces. I will make the memory of them to cease from among men. Now this fourth thread is going to go into the final tapestry 3, verse 37. He will say, where are their gods? The rock in which they sought refuge, who ate the fat of their sacrifices and drank the wine of their drink offerings. Let them rise up and help you and be your refuge. What is that third thread? That fourth thread, brethren. What is the fourth thread? What are you seeing in that thread? Who is Elohim? Who is Elohim? Who is Elohim? That's the question. That's the question. Which brings us to the war that we are presently in. Who is Elohim? Who is Elohim? It's easy to talk about God. I mean, there was a beheading in Oklahoma just the other day. And then the way the news reports it, there was a crowd that massed outside, and they were saying, God is great. God is great. But they didn't say that. But they didn't say that. But they didn't say that. Because they didn't report what they actually said. Because they didn't say God is great. That is a transliteration of what they said. They said the very same cool word as they always say, which I won't say, because it's the Bismillah. That is what they said. In the name of Allah. So who is God? Who is God? You see, because that is what it's going to come down to in the Great Tribulation. Who do you say God is? Because it's okay to believe in God. Who is Elohim? Baruch haba habashem Yahweh. Blessed is he who comes in the name of Yahweh. You see, it's all about identifying the name of the deity you serve. You either say the name of their deity or you are beheaded. And the Western media, they're not going to call it for what it is. So they'll give you the transliteration or the translation, which is God. But that's not what they said. Those words did not come out of their mouth. They named their God, and their God is called Allah. This is what the Great Tribulation is all about. It's all about who do you serve. Because the name is important. The name is important. And this is the biggest setup right now. Because right now we are looking at the re-establishment of the caliphate. Whereas Scripture tells us, brethren, that the second seal, the sword, will be used in judgment. Does it not? And it is the sword of Islam. And it is going to be used in judgment upon the nations. And that is what you're seeing. And you just saw it in Oklahoma. The fourth seal, the sword of Islam, from the descendants of Esau, coming after the descendants of Jacob. Revelation 20 verse 4. Then I saw the souls of those who had been headed for their witness of Yeshua and for the word of Yahweh, who had not worshipped the beast or his image and not received his mark on their foreheads or on their hands. You see, the sword of Islam, brethren, is at work. It is at work in the nations. And the media is going to play it down. That beheading in Oklahoma, it has been listed as a workplace incident. It's not a workplace incident. That is not true. The fact is that it was a new convert to Islam that had been inspired demonically by all of the pornographic, yes, and it is called pornography, brethren. Pornography. Let's talk about pornography for a moment. Pornography is not just the watching of sexually perverse media, which is wrong, but pornography is also watching things, and look it up and find the definition. Pornography is also the watching of despicable acts that cause an emotion. Many people have been watching pornography in the veil of these beheading videos, and it's pornography. It's not right. It's not right. It's just not right. You see, we've conned ourselves into thinking, well, pornography, that's just what other people do, and it's just, a sexual thing. When really, a lot of believers are watching pornography with all of these beheading videos, because that is what pornography is. You break it down in its Greek form and you see where it came from. It is not just limited to sexual stimuli, but perverse stimuli that causes sensation and emotion. So that is an admonition for all of us to beware and not be deceived. Not to be deceived. Because the sword of Islam is at work. But that doesn't mean that you're to watch the pornography. Because we read in Ezekiel chapter 21 verse 8 through verse 17, and we remember verse 41 of this parsha, and it says, if I whet my glittering sword. You see, Yahweh has a wet, glittering sword, brethren, and that is what you need to understand. Because the nations are scared. But we have a hope that Yahweh has a wet, glittering sword. And Yahweh's glittering sword will smite Islam and the nations. Read Revelation verse 9 of chapter 13, verse 11 of chapter 19. Because the sword of Yahweh is victorious. The truth is in Psalm 29. Give to Yahweh the glory due to his name. Worship Yahweh in the beauty and set apartness. And the truth, the rock of Messiah is perfect. He makes you sons of Elohim. Yahweh watches over Israel. Yahweh will catch Israel, and he will catch us in the free fall of the great tribulation. We're to take the mark of Yahweh. We're to take the mark of Yahweh in our mind, we're to put it in our heart, and we're to put on the commandments of prayer and to wear the outward mark of faith in Yahweh. We're to hold fast to Yahweh and keep his commandments, and we're not to reject the rock that purchased us. Because, brethren, the end time war game is on. It's on. It is on. And if you can't see that, I don't know what to tell you. This is a sobering message. And I'm stepping out to speak this message. But we have one life. We have one life. And there is a war on. And the mark of the beast isn't a bunch of numbers. It's right there paraded on your television nationally and internationally. And it is time to get real. It is time to serve Yahweh. Yahweh, our Elohim, has a name, and you will name the name of Yahweh. And he has a son, and his name is Yeshua, and he indwells us by the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Set-Apart Spirit. And he was nailed to a tree, and he died, and he rose again 3 days and 3 nights later. And he sits at the right hand of Yahweh, and he is Yahweh, the breast of Yahweh, El Shaddai. And he is going to return, and he is going to return, and he is not returning as a suffering servant. He will vindicate his people. And the sword of Yahweh is a wet, glittering sword. Take courage, and you understand that we serve an awesome Elohim. But there's a war, and it is on. And it is time to wake up and for the people of Yahweh to band together in strength, to band together and to realize that we have a war going on. And yes, our war and our weapons are not of this world. But it's also good to see that some people understand that, you do, when you leave Egypt, you've got to be prepared for the Amalekites too. Thank you, brother. That maybe you do need to get your head in the game as well and get ready. Because, brethren, it's serious stuff. So when we see this week's Torah Parsha, give ear, the narrows. We are in the narrows right now. It's like we're on a canoe and we are going through the narrows. There is a river, and are we going to stay on track? But what you have, brethren, we have to be able to see that these 3 tapestries, 1, 2, 3, and the interconnection of the 3 tapestries, because you've got the 4 threads that were stitched through tapestry 1, 2, and 3. Second thread, tapestry 1, 2, and 3. Third thread, tapestry 1, 2, and 3. Fourth thread, tapestry 1, 2, and 3. Now makes a whole veil, and when you lift the veil, this is about how to get through the great tribulation, which is free fall, the eagle from the nest. Do not think that Yahweh isn't going to take care of you. His sword is victorious, and he will swoop in and get you before Yom Kippur, the day of Yahweh, and